goddesses and huntresses. This is our season. This is our time. This is Tunye from Freedom at the Crossroads, helping women everywhere look better, feel better without the pressure. Welcome to the Undomesticated Woman Series on my podcast here. It's been a minute, ladies, and it's time to grab a snack, a latte, a cup of tea, whatever is your jam, and let's just think about a few things. Let's have some conversation. Let's have some realizations. Well, what's going on? Well, I've just been hanging out with a few ladies offline and online, and as usual, we talk about those things that concern us, those things that pertain to women's self-care, those things that pertain to empowering us to be our best possible selves and most fulfilled selves, and getting off of that altar of O.P.E, other people's expectations. Yes, ladies. And so today, I just want to talk about a little bit more about that. All remember that this is all within the context of self-care. And I say that because I'm so tired, fed up. I roll. When I see, particularly online, all these myths being perpetuated about what, the media or society feels is, self-care, what constitutes self-care. And I'll say this again because it angers me so much, because I see women every day, and I am one of those women who's struggled with guilt and shame around, giving voice to my own needs, realizing my own visions and passions, and sacrificing myself on that altar of O.P.E, other people's expectations, and watching women in my family, in generations before me, do the exact same thing in one way, shape, or form. Not necessarily, replicating the exact same thing, but making the same choices that take you to the same places, ladies. And, there is that saying out there. The definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. And so I'm constantly annoyed. I constantly roll my eyes when I see these false images of what constitutes, self-care, particularly as it pertains to women. You see these images of women doing these exotic poses, yoga poses, smoothie bowls. They look perfect, 9 times out of 10. Or they're, talking some woo-woo stuff out there about, alignments and this and that. And the truth of the matter is, alignment, balance, quote unquote, all of that is different for each of us. We're all individuals. We're all unique. We're all filled with different wants, needs, and desires. Granted, as human beings, we all have basic needs and necessities and wants. But at the end of the day, we're each different. We each have our own beautiful gifts and qualities that make us unique and that need to be nurtured and structured and empowered. And so, when I see these overly simplistic and superficial images of what constitutes self-care, I just want to scream. And, I've talked to this about some, with other women too, offline and online. I've had some extended conversations with some really good friends, and we've talked about the same thing. And I can't help but feel like it's a conspiracy, not to be, one of those conspiracy, quote unquote, conspiracy individuals, but those kind of myths keep you trapped and in bondage because you look at them, and on some level, when you see these images being perpetuated on, platforms like Instagram and just in media in general, women can't help but feel, at least a lot of us, and I know how I'd feel, look at that and say, that's just impossible. That's so not me. Oh, that smoothie bowl. Who has time for that? Oh, that yoga pose and learning yoga to that degree where I'm that stretchy and bendy. Oh my gosh, that's never going to happen. And you say that because you recognize on some level that image that you're seeing is so woefully inadequate. It's so woefully superficial, because it does not speak to the needs and necessities of the average woman. Let us be real. A lot of times, and in a lot of instances, we as women have these roles and expectations pressed upon us from society, from culture, from media, to perform at unrealistic levels. So when you see things like that, when you see these myths of what constitutes self-care, that's just one more pressure, one more expectation that you cannot live up to. And so women feel hopeless. They feel despondent. They feel disempowered because they feel like that's something that is unattainable, and they stay grinding on that hamster wheel going nowhere. Newsflash, ladies, that is a myth, that is a lie, and that's more of the same. The same structures in society, the same power brokers in society that have put these kind of unrealistic roles and expectations in, their bid to maintain dominance and power over us. Let us be realistic here. Let us be real. It's about power. It's about dominion over you and who has access to your gifts. And when you are disempowered, when you are caught up on that hamster wheel going nowhere, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see what's in front of you. You can't see your own power. You can't see your own capabilities. You can't see your own vision, let alone realize your own vision. And so it's time for the huntress to rise. It's time for the goddess to awaken. And that's what I'm speaking of when I say you must get off that hamster wheel going nowhere. You need to break that shackle, those shackles of O.P.E, other people's expectations. Because when you break those toxic threads, when you break those ropes, those shackles, those chains, you free your mind. And there's nothing more powerful than realizing your own self-worth and recognizing that you have power, and the only one who has dominion over you is you. Nothing external outside of you, other people's expectations, society, culture, other people. None of them have the right to what is intrinsically you, your personhood, your power, all the things on the inside of you that define you. You are not the role you play. You are not the mother. You're not the slave. You're not the wife. You are a person. First and foremost, you are an entity. You are an individual. You have personhood. You have power that is intrinsically yours. And it emanates from you. Now, you might have given birth. In some instances, you've given birth. And so you play the role, not, I guess, for lack of better term, you play the role of nurturer or mother because you have a child. But motherhood does not define you. it should not define you. That is something that you do. That is an extension of what is lying within the inside of you. You are person. You are power. You must step into that. You must free yourself from the conditioning. And that is a powerful thing. And it's just like, for those of you who love science and chemistry, particularly, I've always loved science and chemistry, even as a child, because I was always fascinated by how things connect, come together, and the power that is released when certain reactions take place. And from a spiritual and mental aspect of who you are, when you break conditioning, there's a powerful release or force, and at the same time, power gained from breaking that conditioning. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of power and force to condition. And it has taken a long time throughout history, throughout the ages, for conditioning and structures and, let's call it what it is, bondage, to be so deep-seated within, society and embedded in society and, in aspects of misogyny and dominion and patriarchy that have really, really pressed into certain segments of society, not just women, but in large part women, in order to access power that is not theirs, in quotes. So certain forces, certain power structures, certain individuals in society throughout history, a way of maintaining power is dominion. And it's not only by dominating in the physical aspect, is dominating mentally, because one of the best ways to enslave is to enslave the mind, because that way you can just keep replicating and you use less effort over time, and it's a separate replicating machine. And that's why it's so pivotal and important that you begin your work on the inside. And that's why you see so many false images in media and society that argue for the opposite. Because if you remain trapped in the superficial, in that hamster wheel going nowhere, and that feeling of hopelessness and unattainable visions, then you succumb and you continue to go along with the status quo. And you see so many examples of women that have been punished for that. And you see so many archetypes that have been created by these same power structures in order to reinforce your domestication. And so, ladies, this is where we are. And this is my rant, and this is our conversation. And going forward, we will continue with this. We'll talk more about breaking the shackles of O.P.E, what that means for you when it comes to self-care, and the importance of recognizing that self-care is tied to self-worth, self-esteem, self-empowerment. And again, let the huntress arise, ladies. This is Tonya from Freedom at the Crossroads, helping women everywhere look better, feel better without the pressure. Follow my website, our community at freedomatthecrossroads.com. You can find us also on Facebook and a podcast, Freedom at the Crossroads, on both iTunes, Spotify, and Spreaker, ladies. Till next time, stay strong.